good afternoon, everyone. I know it's a bit tough going. I think this is the fourth panel with no coffee break, so please bear with us. I hope the interesting topic and wonderful speakers we have here today will keep you engaged. So we're here to discuss a very important topic around sustainability as well as impact. And as I think most of you would be aware, Vietnam is really at the forefront of climate change, right? One of the top 5 countries most affected by climate change. The story that I think we hear about less frequently is also how Vietnam is on the forefront of some of the innovations, right? And really exciting activities in the area of sustainability, impact investing, and we're really lucky to have 3 experts here on stage today to share more about that from different perspectives, both as an investor, right, or an investment facilitator, also as an entrepreneur, and also as an advisor and consultant to large corporates working in Vietnam. So because we only have 25 minutes, let's get right into it. And the first question that I'd like to ask all of our panelists is, a little bit about your story and your journey, right? Like, what really motivated you to start working in the sustainability and impact field, and why do that in Vietnam, right? Because I believe all of us on the panel have had international experience. What was the pull? What was the pull to Vietnam? And maybe I'll start with the one overseas Vietnamese on our panel, who is John. If you can go first. I read on your bio that you had actually never been to Vietnam until 2018, it says?
Yeah, my first time in Vietnam was in 2018.
Okay, wow.
But son, I do consider you overseas Vietnamese too. You spent some time in the UK, right? So, hey everyone, I'm John Vu, associate partner at CO2B. We are a boutique agency focusing on circular economy strategy and implementation here in Vietnam. I got my start in sustainability quite early in my career. I'm from the Silicon Valley, where a lot of Vietnamese are from. I had the chance to work for a PR agency, and some of our clients were clean tech companies like solar, energy storage, IoT. I guess 10 years now, 10 years back. And that really got my spark and interest in sustainability and impact. I felt like I need to broaden my knowledge as well as deepen my knowledge on sustainability. So I did a master's in Germany. I spent a bit of time for the UN in Bangkok, working for the UN Migration Agency, focusing on labor migration issues, safe migration, forced labor prevention. And it was at that point where you mentioned, Shuyin, 2018, first time in Vietnam. I was in Thailand, the closest I've ever been to Vietnam. I don't know, growing up, I was just like, oh, I'm Asian, I'm Vietnamese, I don't really need to go there. I'll go to Europe, I'll go to South America. But I felt like Vietnam was the next step for me. Why work in Thailand or why work in Germany? Why not leverage my Vietnamese heritage, my language skills? So luckily, I had a job offer for an NGO here in Vietnam, working to deliver training to different types of factory workers here in Vietnam on safe migration, so like the social side of sustainability, the S of ESG, right? And it was kind of then where, I kind of started and continued to build my journey in sustainability. But outside of those professional reasons, I think there are 2 personal reasons I want to be in Vietnam and why I was drawn here. I wanted to improve my Vietnamese language as well as my cultural knowledge. And number 2, due to the fact that I never had a chance to visit Vietnam frequently, and my family hasn't been back to Vietnam for over 30, 40 years, I wanted to be kind of that bridge to help build that relationship with Vietnam. So been here since 2019, 5 years, and that's a little bit about my story.
Great. Well, I'm glad that it was a successful enterprise for you so far. And now turning to Son. So you're a native Vietnamese, but you've also spent a lot of time living overseas in the UK, I understand. So what drew you back to Vietnam, and what brought you to the field of impact investing?
Thank you so much, Shuyin, and good afternoon, everyone. So this is Sun, an Associate Vice President at Impact Investment Exchange. So I'm actually leading the investment banking and corporate advisory operation in Southeast Asia. So I'm actually a native Vietnamese, as Shuyin just mentioned. I actually grew up in the Mekong Delta region. And when you talk about climate change issues and everything, actually the Mekong Delta region is the most affected in the world. And I remember when I was a little kid, I saw the floods coming to my house and actually up to my belly. And you know, you need to live with that for a few rainy seasons like that one. So it was very personal for me to basically dedicate my career to basically put my investment and finance expertise and also my passion for social and environmental impact. But then when I was a little kid, I didn't really know, that is, the floods and everything was affected by climate change issues. And then I spent a little bit of my time in the UK. Before that, I started up my career in corporate finance and management consulting at KPMG. I worked there for a few years. I also led a few corporate social responsibility projects and doing some social projects on the side. And I think that came to the point that I want to dedicate my career in something more full-time towards addressing those social issues and my passion for social and environmental impact. So I came to know about the impact investment industry, and I went to the UK, stayed there for 2 years to work in the impact investment industry as well. And I came back here in January 2023 and been working on the industry ever since, and met so many amazing people and working on some interesting problems every day. Yeah.
Great. Look forward to hearing more about those projects. And last but not least, Jonathan, what brought you here?
As you can hear, I'm French. Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan. I came in Vietnam in 2008, so it's been a while. I fell in love with this country. I came for the family, but I stay really by heart. And I feel today really more Vietnamese in heart than French. I discovered a great country by its culture, by its people, by the envy to always see forward. And that makes me think that the future is here. I discovered a beautiful nature as well. And unfortunately, I see it more and more polluted today. So I wanted to not just look at it and act. So that's why we decided to create and to help where it was needed. And we focus today on helping business in their transition from plastic to alternative plastic. And it wasn't easy, but I think today it's pay off, and I will be happy to discuss on it a bit more. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think what's really interesting is, I think all of us, I think on this stage have, we look at sustainability and impact as, not necessarily just something we can pursue via, say, charity or through philanthropy, but as also a business imperative, right? Or an investment imperative, and find ways to link the two parts in each of our work. So to get more into that, I might first turn to Son. So as you've shared, you work in the impact investing field, right? And it'll be really interesting to learn more from you. Why do you think Vietnam is emerging as such an interesting field for impact investors globally, right? Why is there the spotlight on Vietnam and Southeast Asia, I would say more broadly? We've heard some of the, great statistics on GDP growth and the attractive demographics, but beyond all of that, where does the impact, sustainability, and kind of investment opportunity all fit together?
Yeah, thank you so much, Shrien. I think Vietnam has always been emerged as a very highly attractive market for impact investors in the region. Forget about the GDP growth rate maintained around 6 to 7% annually since the past decade, and we have a very young and dynamic population, in most of them in the working age. But beyond from that, we also have very attractive industries such as agriculture, renewable energy, and manufacturing sector, which is driving the growth of our economy. And for those sectors, actually for agriculture, Vietnam is the world's largest exporter in black pepper and cashew nuts, together with the world's second largest exporter for coffee beans, just behind Brazil, and the second largest exporter in terms of other products as well. So I think in terms of that, and then when you look at the renewable energy sector, Vietnam is the top country for renewable energy in the region, and we are in the top 10 solar energy generation in the world. But those sectors, I just give example in agriculture and renewable energy, they face so many challenges in terms of for agriculture companies. So most of the sustainable companies in Vietnam are mostly SMEs, and they basically, I call it, they are in the missing middle of the funding landscape in Vietnam. Because why do I call them as a missing middle? Because they are just too small to get the loans and funding from the big private equity funds. They are just too large to get the loans from microfinance institution. And those companies, their risk and return profile are not really suitable with some venture capital firms. So the funding gap is there, and actually impact investors, they see the opportunities not only to yield financial returns, but to help address those social and environmental issues. And they can also actually help those companies to the next level of development and their growth journey. So those companies, let's say agriculture companies, they get some challenges in terms of getting the funding route to expand their operation. They want to expand their market to other countries. Export and then certification issues for some of their products. For renewable energy company, there are some challenges in terms of policy efficacy and then enabling environment and the technical know-how to actually untap those potentials of the renewable energy sector. So I think with those things, I think Vietnam is highly, in the list of the investment landscape, especially for impact investors to address the missing middle in the funding gap.
Absolutely. And maybe, either in the agriculture or renewable energy field, could you give us, an example of maybe a success story, right, or case that IX and you have worked on, that you think might make everything maybe a bit more, tangible for our audience?
Yes. So I can give a very quick example. We've been working with a coffee producer company in Sơn La region. Sơn La is a high mountainous area in northern part of Vietnam. And as you know, Vietnam is the world's second largest coffee producer, but 90% of the export coffee beans are Robusta beans instead of Arabica coffee beans. So the company, they are working with ethnic minorities, women in the northern part of Vietnam to produce Arabica coffee beans, and they are family business. As I mentioned, most of the sustainable companies in Vietnam are mostly SMEs, and it's very hard for them to basically buy in the idea of having outside investor come in, and they lose the control, and then help them with the corporate governance and all that stuff. So we actually support the company in terms of bringing in impact investor based in Belgium, and the investor not only give them money, but give them the technical assistance grants so that they can give out trainings to the ethnic minorities, farmers, and get their products certified by international standards. And after that, they get another funding round from another impact investor as well. So I think there are a lot of opportunities in terms of, let's say agriculture companies. We do have the growth potential, and those companies facing challenges in terms of corporate governance and export to other markets and certification. And impact investors see the opportunity in that and then put their money in, and not only have the money put in the money themselves, but provide other support as well, and then help the company to their next growth and development journey.
Yeah, I think that's very aligned with our own experiences, investing in Vietnam. I think the opportunities are there, but sometimes a bit of a creative approach is required, and I think also the non-financial support as well, as you shared. Turning to John now. So I think as we've heard about today, I mean, Vietnam is emerging as a major player, right, in global supply chains, and I think people are talking more about it now with the with the upcoming change of US government and trade war, et cetera, et cetera. But I think most people talk about it from a trade, investment, or even a geopolitics perspective. You've obviously done a lot of deep thinking and work on it from a sustainability perspective. So it'll be great to learn more about that. What can we learn about greening the supply chain in Vietnam, and why is Vietnam emerging? I think we also heard about it from our friends at Lego earlier today, right? It's a hot topic these days as well.
Definitely, as you mentioned and Sun mentioned and many other panelists today, Vietnam is booming and it is home to global supply chains, right, in different sectors. Textile, electronics just became the largest sector. Lego, just maybe its own sector, toys, right? They're all coming to Vietnam. But when we're talking about circular supply chains, I would have to say that the adoption of something circular is very fresh globally and here in Vietnam, right? So to kind of explain to you guys very quickly, circular supply chains and the linear economy, we have to talk about the linear economy first. That's the situation that we're in right now. We take natural resources from our planet, we make materials and products out of it, and then we use it, and typically it becomes waste. Potentially maybe in the landfill, right? So the natural resource follows a line and it's no longer in use at the very end. This is the reason why we have natural resource depletion, pollution, and the climate challenges of today. Circular economy, on the other hand, tries to keep these natural resources that we took out of our planet, keep them in use, keep them useful and valuable in our economy, in our supply chains as long as possible. So experts see that circular economy as well as renewable energy adoption are the two solutions towards mitigating climate challenges. So there are companies around the world and also the ones with supply chains here in Vietnam, they're looking to adopt circular strategies. You may have heard some of them, even though you don't know what it's called. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Everyone kind of knows those words, but there's other circular strategies such as redesign, remanufacture, repair, and so forth. You can kind of look it up. So for example, a company might be sourcing material locally here in Vietnam to reduce their reliance on exported or imported material, lower the carbon footprint. They might be rethinking and redesigning their product to use a more sustainable or recycled material, for example, and so much more. So at CO2B, our company, we're looking to work with clients that see circular economy as a solution towards their environmental regulations, as well as their commitments, as well as to gain a competitive advantage through product innovation and increased efficiency. So we provide different services, research and assessment, project implementation and strategy. So that's just kind of a little bit for our audience today.
Great, absolutely. And I mean, maybe if you could share a little bit what have been some of the challenges, I guess, in implementing a circular economy strategy within Vietnam. I think you mentioned it was quite a new or nascent concept for many businesses here. So maybe you could share a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think sustainability overall in Vietnam is quite early. It's been a hot topic the last few years, actually. So many conferences talking about sustainability. Circular economy also is relatively new around the world over the last decade and new here in Vietnam. But one of the challenges, I think it applies to all types of sustainability work, is just trying to get the buy-in of local partners. I would say there's a lot of different stakeholders throughout the supply chains, and it takes more time than, for example, working with international companies who might say, like, kind of get it, you know? So yeah, it takes a little bit more explanation, a little bit more time commitment, and a lot of different nuances that you kind of just have to figure out. Also here in Vietnam, there's a lot of informal sectors, informal work that is included, and that's another challenge in itself, and maybe I could share about that later, as I know we have another question coming up.
Absolutely. So, Jonathan, to bring you into the conversation, I think it's probably a nice segue from the work that John's been doing. So, your company is a pioneer in plastics, right, and more sustainable plastics. So, maybe you could share a little bit about that and your journey building that business here in Vietnam as one of the co-founders, and that journey to where you are today.
Yeah, so we started in 2017 by being the pioneer in bioplastic. We were the first in Vietnam to create plastic based on cassava starch. So 100% bio-based, biodegradable, compostable plastic to replace all the flexible packaging. So it means bags and all the bag you find in your product for the supermarkets, and to make sure that it fit as well the end of life of Vietnam, meaning like you go to landfill and you will degrade safely in landfill and very fast. it was very tough in 2017 because, as John say, nobody understood it. Honestly, even the people who were using packaging didn't know what we were doing. We were proposing the same than plastic at 3 times the price. And why you do that? Why you propose the same stuff that I use today at $1 and you propose it at $3? So hopefully we find some great company in Vietnam like BT's, L'Oreal, mega markets that help us to adopt our solution and to make sure that it fits the market and working here. It was great showcase to show the solution. And since then, we grow quite fast. In 2022, we developed the first water-soluble packaging for the fashion industry. Today, we are creating an holding in Singapore and working on 2 new factories for next year, using rice and developing a seaweed plastic. But all of this passed by innovation. And it wasn't easy to find talents, supply chain, here in Vietnam. What are you using? What will be the feedstock of our product? Cassava starch was not a usual product at the base to use bioplastic. It was corn, it was sugarcane, but you come in competition with food. So that's not a great solution for sustainability. So cassava was actually very lucky to find this in Vietnam. We are the first producer in Vietnam of cassava. It doesn't require extra water, doesn't require pesticide, doesn't require any chemical. So it was a very sustainable feedstock for our product. And we're lucky it grew as well on the poor land, where farmer cannot grow rice, cannot grow high value fruit and vegetable. So we can bring them as well extra revenue. Paying a bit extra to have a high quality product and bring them extra revenue for their family and sustain on what they have on poor land. Today we are working on a rice waste. So, in rice we use a grain, we use a husk, but nobody uses the straw and the steam of the rice. Actually, they have to burn it because it doesn't degrade fast enough. So we have to burn it. We have peak of pollution in major city. And we say, what we can do with that? And actually, we turn it into the first carbon negative packaging made in Vietnam. We will be autonomous in energy, autonomous in water, and we will use a feedstock that today is burned, creating massive pollution, and we turn it in high quality cellulose. Cellulose now is mostly done by wood, so we're cutting like million and million of wood to create paper, to create packaging, and we'll use agri-waste. The most available agri-waste in Vietnam that today is burned. So Vietnam is a source of so many opportunity, and sustainability is just at the beginning. There is so much to do, and we need so much people to walk into this field.
No, I love how you really highlighted the focus on innovation, right, of your company, which, as I said at the beginning, is sometimes the story that isn't really told about this, sustainability in Vietnam. So I think the way you're using materials that are native to Vietnam and otherwise wasted, right? That's fantastic. Maybe just one more question before we move on, and we also have 5 minutes left. I'm curious. I mean, whenever you're building a business which really prioritizes, both, of course, the financial results, right, as well as, local communities, as well as the environment, how do you, work to find the right balance between those 3 aspects of your work?
I would say is a 3P: the people, the planet, and the profits. I will start by the profit because, as Son said, it was so difficult to find money. Actually, we started with our own money. Started the company with $10,000. Now we invest more than $2 million into it. Finding the fund was headache, and it's still a headache actually. Bank closed the door. VC, we're too small, we're too big, you want too much, you're too risky. Now we're turning over a big international group to enter the value chain. That might be the good lead for us. But yeah, you have to be courageous, persistent, and try to knock at all doors to find all this finance. I think as well, people are the key of success. We have a great workforce in Vietnam, innovative people creating business every day and have amazing solution. You need to make sure that you value them, you train them, you give them something that can bring home every day. Sustainability is a great thing. When you wake up every day and say you do good for your country, it's
Great, yeah, thank you. So I guess, yeah, as we come close to the close of this panel, it seems, I think listening to all of you, I think it makes me reflect that we're kind of at an inflection point in Vietnam, right? I think for the last maybe 5, 10, 15 years, all of us have been talking about circular economy, sustainability, impact investing, ESG, and those were very, new and strange and scary concepts at the time. But I think now seems in the last few years, right, has been the time where people are really paying attention to these issues. I think now is the time to really make it happen. So maybe if each of us, or each of you could leave us with a few thoughts, right? What would you say is really kind of unique, special, noteworthy about the Vietnam market, right? That makes you kind of still committed, persistent in each of your, amazing missions and the work that you do. Maybe in just like a minute or two. Jonathan.
Yes, okay. It's a very special market because it's moving very fast, looking forward, adapting very fast, and you have to keep up. All the company who won't take the circularity train will be left behind, for sure. So follow the trend, go even forward to the sustainability train. It's not anymore the future, it's right now.
Yep, yeah, keep up. This is, the time is now. Son.
So I've been looking over Southeast Asia market in other countries as well, but Vietnam is my most favorite market, not because that I'm Vietnamese, but in short, I will leave you, I think, this to, cross-sector collaboration and building trust. Understand the local context to do that. I think that's very important because, in Vietnam, we have 54 ethnic groups, but actually most of us are King people, so it's very easy to kind of communicate and get your message across in different groups. And I think the cross-sector collaboration, because especially in my industry, impact investment, you need to work with the government, you need to work with non-profit companies, investors, and SMEs as well. So to bring everyone on the same table is very challenging. And because we have community-oriented kind of our culture, so it's very important to build trust with people here if you know the local context. Yeah.
Okay, John.
I have to say, maybe from a perspective as a OV coming back to Vietnam, Vietnam is just so dynamic, and you're kind of on the ground. Things are happening, and you see it. You feel it, and it's like right there. For example, if you're talking about making impact or sustainability or something, like all the factories are here, right? You get to see the lives of the factory workers. You get to see where your products are being made. You see as Shu Yin said, like Vietnam's on the forefront in terms of being affected by climate change. You see that. Was it yesterday when Hanoi was like the most polluted city in the whole entire world? I think, yeah. And it's also pretty bad here sometimes in Saigon, right? So someone mentioned in the panel, depending on what type of company you work for, sometimes compensation might not be as high as you expect. Well, perhaps you can be compensated through feeling that impact and being very close to it. So that's what I would like to share.
Okay, so I think to wrap it up, I think from Jonathan we heard, the time is now to work on sustainability. From Son, it's like we can't do it alone, so cross-sector collaboration. And from John, we can see the change right in front of our eyes, and it's very tangible and meaningful change. So thank you to the wonderful panelists and the audience for sticking with us through this session. Thank you, and we'll wrap it up here.